my name is Rhoades, and I will be a patient navigator talking about tobacco and alcohol dependence and how it is affecting and what treatments might be useful in the near future. A patient navigator is someone that helps guide a patient through a healthcare system and guides them if there's any obstacles that might deny them treatment or patient care that they absolutely require. There's a main issue with tobacco and alcohol dependence. So when someone starts drinking or smoking, the nicotine and the alcohol travel through the bloodstream, and when they get into the bloodstream, it does travel to the brain, and when it gets to the brain, it turns on the reward system. And when it turns on the reward system, the patient does feel more relaxed, less stressed, and happier. So they think that's the only way that helps them get through either a stressful day at work, stressful home life, school, or they were just given the worst news possible. So this is the only way I feel like they think they can cope with, but it really ends up affecting them worse than it betters them. Nearly 28% of all adults in the U.S. smoke use some form of tobacco, and about 40%, and it has increased to 40% when vaping came out with Juuls and other types of electronic cigarettes that do actually worsen them. Tobacco is the largest preventable disease in the country, with 480,000 people dying in the US alone and 6 million dying worldwide. And that number is going to keep increasing unless we find ways to help them quit that and hopefully get them to stay off tobacco and alcohol for life. This has been happening since 1964. When the first general surgeon's warning came out on cigarettes, and you did see a bit of a decrease, but sadly when e-cigs came out, there wasn't as many general surgeon's warnings, so people were thinking that this is actually safer, so that number then increased drastically, and we are at an age where people are using it everywhere they go, and they think that it's healthier than smoking a cigarette, but in fact, one Juul pod contains 20 cigarettes. Usually, people start their dependence, like I said, when they were giving the worst news possible, or they're extremely stressed, and this is their coping way. And when people try to get them to quit, obviously they will get angry, so their behavior starts to change. And then next thing you know, people, like, that is their life. Like, they have to have a cigarette every 10 minutes, every 5 minutes, or they have to drink. Every time they see a friend or they're at the bar, they have to keep drinking so they maintain that happiness and that relaxation, when in fact they're like hurting themselves and their body. All the statistics and studies that have been happening, the numbers are just going to drastically increase worldwide, and in the U.S. alone, they're just going to keep increasing unless we find a way to stop it and help them get over that they can live without a cigarette or they can live without a drink a day. So there is a way. There's usually, when people have dependence, most of the time, the friends and family will host an intervention. And what an intervention is that they get together and they go around talking about how they've noticed a change in that person and how they wish that old person was back, or that they wish they cared about their family more than they do with a cigarette or a drink. Now, most of the time that will work if it's not a severe dependence, but if it's extremely severe and they don't really care at all, most of the time I would probably recommend going into counseling and getting to the bottom line of like why this actually started. And then I would try to help them with like getting off it slowly but surely, like instead of doing carton maybe a week, cut back to carton every two weeks. Or if they're on a pack, I'd be like, try to smoke at least one cigarette a day. And then If that does not work, I will recommend using pharmaceuticals such as the patch or gum that does take place in the form of nicotine, but it does help with them quitting and feeling better about themselves. I believe I represented myself well in the role of a patient navigator. I did make a case. I know I was a little hesitant, and that's just because I'm talking in front of a camera. So I do believe I made my case. And again, I will admit that I was very hesitant, but I did explain the case. Yes, I did. I believe that what I said with using an intervention or getting them slowly to get cold turkey or like using pharmaceuticals, I do believe that will be used with the healthcare system representatives. What I did best is I spoke very hesitantly, which is quite normal with someone that's talking in front of a camera. I think I probably could have done this better if I was more confident and more calm and collected. But I do think that I made my case very well, and hopefully you guys think so too.